Okay. Yeah. So 1 month, February, we went through a number of learning encounters, challenging our conception, our comfort zones. I hope that you are trying to link the dots and asking yourself a lot of questions on who am I. This month, we started off by looking at some of the ways in which you can explore your inner self. We started with some simple things. It's basic initiation. I think someone has to switch off yeah, yeah. So it's an initiation process. So I hope you have started this effort to more deeply into yourself, exploring yourself, so that we are not exploring yourself as a person who want to become a mystic or this thing. You can if you want to, but our whole idea is how do we serve society, how can we build our compassionate foundation much better. So we have now the starting of that process of looking at some of the ways in which humanity has found ways into the inner self to be able to be available for self, for community, and for nature, but in whichever way you want to think about it. So this is the starting of that process. We're going to look at both religious and non-religious approaches. Non-religious approach I already shared with, we already gone through Zen Tangle, which are called partially non-religious or non-spiritual. But here are some other ways which you'll be exposed to, which you may also taken through some simple practices. But just keep in mind that we have with us this huge resource in the of journeying to our inner self, to reach that inner self and to make that available for us, both for ourselves, for our community, for humanity, for nature, in terms of what we can actually offer in terms of ourselves to the world. So Professor Dicky and Professor Ikhlas are here from Indonesia. So they will share with us this start of a journey of different ways to the inner self. Thanks. Dicky, Professor Ikhlas, yours.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon you all. Can you hear me clearly?
I can.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Nad, Dr. Manikam, who is a very good friend of mine. And, we've been friends for over 12 years or so within the context of the Asian Public Intellectuals Program. I'm from Indonesia. I'm based in Yogyakarta. I work for the Indonesian Consortium for Religious Studies, which is based essentially in the graduate school of Universitas Gadjah Mada, which is the largest university in Indonesia. Now, I've also brought along my very good friend, Dr. Ikhlas Budiman, who shares some of my thinking and maybe, have some disagreements with respect to how we view Islam and the significance of Islam in our lives and Sufism and how we practice Sufism and how it applies to our sort of daily philosophies, and ways of living. So I'd like to start off, if I may, by first saying that I'm currently, in East Kalimantan or East Borneo, which will become the new capital city of Indonesia. So I'm doing research with my friends here. We've been here for about 3 days, and we are looking into the social, sort of cultural aspects of what the the new capital will be here in East Kalimantan. So essentially, we have been talking to indigenous people here, a range of people from Dayak and from the local people here, from here. Interesting sort of new demographic for Indonesia, at least within the context of the new capital city. So I'm constantly, in my work, I travel a lot. And I think this is exactly how I sort of define life. Life is really a journey. And life really is sort of two types of journeys. Yeah, one is sort of the external journey where one travels to places and sees new cultures and experience new cultures, meet new people and feel differently in different contexts. Yeah? But then there's also the personal, the inner journeys that we all take. And I think we need to be fully aware of these two types of journeys. I think all of us have probably gone through these two types of journeys. Yeah. The question is whether we really have reflected on these two journeys or not. Yeah. Oftentimes we think much more along the lines of the external journey. The places where we go to, the people whom we meet, yeah, and the cultures that we encounter, and the different kinds of experiences that we feel. But what about the inner journeys that we take? Yeah, and I think this is where this whole sort of learning encounter comes into relevance and significance for all of us, including myself. And I'm a son of a diplomat. So we come from a diplomatic tradition. My father was a diplomat. Two of my brothers are now in the foreign service. One is a deputy ambassador in Tokyo. One is a consul general in Ho Chi Minh in Vietnam. My sister-in-law is in the foreign service as well. My uncle, and so on and so forth. I'm the only one who sort of traveled differently and went to a different sort of pathway of living. But one of the things, one of the benefits, I guess, of being a son of a diplomat is that you get to travel a lot. Yeah, you get to travel a lot, and then you get to see places and meet different people and experience different cultures. And I've been doing this since the age of 4. In fact, my first schooling was in Sydney, Australia. Yeah, and when I came back to Indonesia, I wasn't able to speak a word of Bahasa Indonesia. So we had to go, my sisters and my brothers and I, we had to go to a special school in Jakarta for the sons and daughters of diplomats, because we weren't able to communicate in the national language. And so, we had students coming from Italy, from the Middle East, from Japan, from China, and we all spoke different languages, albeit that, the fact that they were all Indonesians. Yeah. And so I've grown up to become sort of a more cosmopolitan type of person, regarding myself as more of a global citizen, yeah, of the world. And so geography to me does not seem to matter all that much. I mean, geography to me is just providing me a sense of place of where I am at the moment in time, at any given moment in time. It provides me a vantage point, as opposed to a sort of an understanding, a true understanding of where I am geographically speaking in the world. Yeah, so it's much more seeing the world from a certain vantage point, and I think this is where this whole learning encounters could derive some inspiration from. Yeah, because I think where you are at any given moment sort of skews your perspectives as well. Yeah, it provides a different kinds of viewpoint in terms of how you see reality and how you see the world. Yeah, so I think in my journeys, and I've been to 30 countries, and I lived for more than 15 years overseas. Yeah. In both English speaking countries as well as other ones. I mean, I've lived in Iran as well, and did some stints in Japan, in Malaysia, in Europe, and so on and so forth. Yeah. And so traveling is part of my life and living. Yeah, it's one of the reasons for my existence, one of my raison d'etre, as they call it. Yeah? And because of that, I think I've been privileged to sort of encounter different ways of looking at things, different ways of looking at reality, even looking at myself, you know. And sometimes I question myself, you know, am I really Indonesian? Am I really Javanese or South Sumatranese, a Malay? Am I really a Muslim? You know, what makes me an Indonesian? What makes me a Malay, for instance? What makes me a Muslim? I mean, you know, I try to question myself every now and then, and not by intention, but simply because I was sort of like trying to understand myself, trying to understand why I'm feeling certain ways about certain issues in life, about certain challenges that I face each time I encounter a problem or issue in life. You know, whether it be in my workplace, whether I'm studying, whether I'm doing my research, or engaging my family, engaging my friends and relatives, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So that's where I'm coming from. But traditionally, I'm still a Muslim. My parents were also devout Muslims as well. They went on pilgrimages and they do their obligatory prayers. Sorry, there seems to be a call. I'll just ignore it. Yeah. So that's who I am at the moment. Yeah. So I think I'll just stop there for a while, just to give you some introductory reflections of myself. Thank you very much, Nad.
Thank you. Prof. Ikhlas, do you want to share something?
Thank you. Hi.
Right.
Good morning, friend. Assalamualaikum. I hope we are all in good health. Previously, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Ikhlas Budiman, and my profession is as a lecturer in Islamic philosophy, Sufism, and Islamic studies at the Sadra College of Islamic Philosophy, located in Jakarta, Indonesia. As assigned to me in this amazing discussion, I will share my experiences of how I position my religion as a method to find the meaning of life by doing Sufi meditation. Maybe you have read and watched the movie entitled Eat, Pray, Love, yes, written by Elizabeth Gilbert. So I will start this discussion by quoting a quote from the novel Eat, Pray, Love. But you must stop looking at the world through your head. You must look through your heart instead. That's why you will know God. Culturally, I was born in a religious family. One day, I asked my parents for permission to study Islam at a boarding school in the island of Java. We call pesantren. We call that a boarding school pesantren. And initially, my parents didn't allow me because once I told them that I wanted to become an engineer. However, eventually they allowed me because they saw my seriousness and they saw my sincerity to want to study religion. I separated from my family to study Islamic religion at the Islamic boarding school. That boarding school was very far from my house, and a very long journey was taken by plane. There I spent my time studying the Arabic language, Islamic theology, and Islamic jurisprudence. My friends, after studying religion for a long time, I found emptiness in my spirituality. I don't know what happened. Moreover, I felt as if I had the authority to correct others people's worship. Hey, your worship is wrong, this is right. And I felt like the most obedient person, going to the mosque early and then calling the people to pray together. And I blame others people's religion because I thought only my religion is the right one. Anyway, it was the feeling that made me leave that boarding school. And I went to find another boarding school to memorize Quran, the holy book of Islam. Because for me, by memorizing the Quran, I could get a tremendous chance in myself. Once I spent the night on a hill and contemplated beside a sacred grave. In the night and very cold weather, I look for something to enlighten my spirituality. I read Quran repeatedly so I could memorize it well. At boarding school, I only read the Quran night and day, and I repeated reading on one verse to another verse 10 times and more until I could memorize it without reading the commentary of the Quran. And in the end, I also didn't feel the spirituality I wanted. I left that boarding school and say goodbye and look for a spiritual expert in a remote village. I went there behind a mountain. However, after arriving there, I feel it was not the right place to find my spirituality because I witnessed something morally inappropriate. I had felt despair in the journey of life. And one night, I don't know, I dreamed and I meet someone who guided me to a place where I would seek knowledge and spirituality. And I followed the instruction. And yes, I found a place where I felt my thought and spirituality would be enlightened. I studied Islamic philosophy and Sufism to get a different point of view in studying religion. I practiced several meditation rituals and contemplated the meaning of my life. In Sufi meditation, known as muraqabah, this is the method by which I realized that God is always watching over me. Conditions like this should be present in me every single time. I try myself by contemplating that everything in front of me, behind me, beside me, and even myself are all manifestations of God. Some of this meditation are practiced every Thursday night. This look like prayer, but for me, it is a meditation to talk myself personally. I speak Arabic. Allahumma inni as'aluka biwajhika alladhi birahmatika allati wasi'at kulla shay. Oh God, I ask you by your mercy which embraces all things. Wa biquwwatika allati qaharta biha kulla shay. And by your strength through which you dominate all things. and toward which all things are humble, and before which all things are ordinary. This contemplation enlightens me. And in another meditation, I learned to realize God within me. Oh my God, I am needy despite my richness. So how can I not be needy in my neediness? Oh my God, I'm ignorant despite my knowledge. So how can I not be ignorant in my ignorance? Oh my God, I have known through a variety of signs and changes of phases that what you want from me is that you introduce yourself to me in all things. What can one who misses you find any substitute? And what can one who finds you miss anything else? It is you who have introduced yourself to all things. Therefore, nothing has ever ignored you. It is you who have introduced yourself to in all things. Therefore, I have you manifest in all things. It is you who give manifestation to all things. The concept of oneness of being in Sufism that I studied brought me to see anything filled with God's love, compassion, and grace. Everything that is in front of me, and what is in me, and all manifestation of Him, and all are manifestation of Him. Realizing all this made me a big change in my talk and my attitude. You know, in the past, I blamed other people's religions, and I felt that I was better than others. But after studying Sufism and doing meditation daily, weekly, and yearly, I see whatever religion other people follow and practice, it is a method to find God, to find the reality. And there are many ways to find and to know God. When my younger brother wanted to marry a Catholic woman, he is a Muslim, and he wanted to marry a Catholic woman. Many of family didn't allow the marriage. But after discussing it with me, and they did, they allowed it. When I was in America, I studied Bible at a church every Monday. I meditated at Kalpabhadra Kadampa Buddhist Center, and I learned Jewish mysticism from a rabbi. For me, God is not only found in the mosque or when I will perform ritual worship, but He is present in every side of my life. This is the chance I found in myself. My friends, that is a glimpse of what happens on my life journey, which is always a process every single time. I still realize that what I have done is not the best compared to what other people have done. For me, being the best person is how can I provide better benefits to other people. This is, I can tell you, maybe you can ask me about something that I can answer your question. Thank you so much for listening my experiences. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Ikhlas. Dicky, you want to add that before, add anything before we open the discussion for a while?
Sure, yes. this is one of the reasons why, Ikhlas and I have been really good friends for many years, you see. One of the things I think we share between the two of us is that we are open to the idea of, uh, this relentless love and mercy and compassion to others. Yeah, I mean, even to those who might have different forms of, religious beliefs and affiliations and so on. Because ultimately, I think when you have reached a certain point in your awareness and understanding about a religious tradition, there is a tendency for one to ultimately think that, hey, this is just one path among many. Yeah, they say that there are many roads that lead to Rome. And I think the more you transcend above and beyond the sort of regular and conventional theologies that we all adhere to, I think one must come to the conclusion ultimately that there are many roads that lead to Rome, that there are many roads that lead to the pathway of God. And I think this is where the pathway of Sufism comes in. I'm sorry about the noise distractions. I'm in a very remote village in East Kalimantan right now among the indigenous people here. But again, it's this idea that one, we are not alone, that our religion is only one pathway toward God, and obviously many have traversed this road and this pathway before. Some have made it to such and such understanding, whereby ultimately we are drowning in the sea of love of God and for God and with God. Yeah, but there are also those who have come to a conclusion that my religion is the only correct religion. We say that Islam is the Ashirat al-Mustaqim, or the straight path toward God. Now my understanding toward that sort of common phrase in the Quran is to think that, what is a straight line? If you have studied geometry, yeah, in your mathematics class, you would know that a straight line is the most efficient way to reach from one point to the other point, right? So point A to point B. The only most efficient and most economical way to reach point B is through a straight line. The problem is life isn't so straight. Life isn't always straightforward, as you know, right? And the pathway that we choose in life has never been straight, right? We get oftentimes pushed here and there. It's like, swimming in the ocean. You feel like the waves and the currents, both the waves on top above your body and also the undercurrents under your feet. Oftentimes we get drawn up away from the straight path. And I think this is one of the main learnings that I've encountered in my life. I've had many challenges in terms of my family relations, challenges in terms of my motivations in life, challenges in love, challenges in economic, financial challenges, and even challenges in the field of existence. Sometimes I stop and wonder, what is this all for? I go to the office in the morning and then come back in the evening, and from Monday to Friday, and then when I get home and take a shower, and then I start my work again until I sleep, until I'm dead tired, and then I go to sleep. And you tend to ask the question, why is this necessary? Is this the only pathway to happiness? So this has been my own sort of experience. Yeah. And to me, I think it's important when one tries to find his or her own pathway to God or in God or with God, you need to not forget to smell the roses. That you need to still be able to stop and smell the roses and to enjoy life and to fulfill your dreams and your passion, because that's the only way to live. To me, happiness is the only way to live. And the more you embrace life, the more you are open to this sea of love and ocean of wisdom and compassion, the more I think happier you will become.
I think we are now heard the both have been influenced, both of you, Professor Dicky and Professor Ikhlas, and how this Islam, how you see Islam, how you see your life with Islam, practicing Islam. Maybe now we could actually, delve a little deeper into this inner journey that both of you all had contextualized. I mean, what were the steps? What were the processes that took you deeper into this, that allowed you to be a Muslim in the way in which you experienced it, and also find a journey to your inner life, and from that inner life, finding a journey to this life outside, serving people, serving communities, serving nature, whatever you are doing. So how, what could be this very deeper inner journeys that you took from the context that you have just described to us, so that could help the fellows? And may I also ask any of you fellows, if you have something that you want to ask, they have contextualized their life and their being Muslims, practicing Islam. Now, if there is some question you want to ask, which can then get us deeper into these inner journeys that which is part of today's inner encounter. If you have something, you can please put the question so they can both answer in the process of discussion or sharing. Anything else? Anything? Anybody? We'll take 2 questions. Mami, Om, Hokian, Ray, Sandra, Amelina, Aaron. There must be something that's that may have been bothering you, that you want clarification, you want that you want to critically look at Islam, because we are also living in a Islamic phobia world. So many things gets into our system. People are telling us stories, and we are living narratives which are not ours. Which we even haven't examined. So you may have something. Please share so that they can, so both the professors can, they are practicing Muslim, so they can share from this context that they have created. Come on.
For me, Dr. Nat, it's basically how Sufism is being practiced, or in their day-to-day experiences. Because I first heard of it through a course on interreligious dialogue, particularly with Muslims, and we're talking really more with the mainstream Islamic religion. And I heard about Sufism, and I am just really curious how it is being done, and how is that different to the mainstream religion, the Islam. So yeah, that's my question.
Okay. One more question, please. That while they reflect on it. One more question, please, from someone. Come on.
How can here?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think just now Professor Ikhlas saying that, I think one of his relatives that, married a Catholic. It just on Malaysia side that because normally that when the different religious, especially when together with Islam, then it's a must that the other religious have to convert to Islam. So just out of curiosity that is it that is the must that in order to do it, or actually it's openly it's really like, because the way that just now Professor Ikhlas that explaining, I find it's not that what I normally hear or normally see in Malaysia. So just curious of that.
Okay, thank you, Hogan. Yeah, this is what I think you all need to do. Look back into yourself and ask questions on Islam that you have been taught, which may not be exactly what practice is. And Professor Dicky and Ikhlas can now share while sharing the aspects of their inner life. Please carry on. I've got some domestic chores to attend to.
Ikhlas, would you like to begin?
Sorry. You first, Mr. Dicky, Professor Dicky.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
One of the things that I often hold on to is this idea of 5 Ps. Yeah, so one is about power. And when I say power, I don't mean, political power, economic power, and so on. What I mean by power is really the inner self, the power within ourselves. There are many, many forces out there that are trying to belittle you, whether you realize this or not. There are many, many powers that be that try to always undermine you, undermine your significance, undermine your beauty, undermine your, life, essentially. Yeah. And I think this is one realization that we must embrace, that power resides in us. And this is an important principle to me, because I think it provides agency. It provides the necessary tool for us to be able to embrace life and to be able to make life bearable. So I think having this realization that we have inner power within us, within our reach, yeah, that would in itself provide a boost in our morality, a boost in our motivation in life, a boost in trying to get things done in life, essentially. Secondly is passion. Yeah, passion is very important, because I think in my view, in many of the countries that I've visited, in many of the societies that I've seen, people are so what's the word I'm looking for? People are so preoccupied with their chores, with their careers, with their work, that they forget who they are, that they forget what they used to be in love with. They forget about the passions in life. And I think this is one thing that we need to constantly be aware of. Yeah, that each one of us has passion. Each one of us has this sort of deep yearning for something that we love, that's for something that we truly and genuinely want to embrace and want to enjoy as part of our existence. But I think a lot of religious people tend to sort of forget about this. Yeah. And for me, I feel sorry for them. For me, I feel like, for those religious people who are simply being obedient, yeah, and just following the formal logic of their theologies, for instance, oftentimes they would sacrifice their passion in life. To me, there is no contradiction between being religious, being spiritual, and sort of reclaiming your passions in life. And this could be passion about many other things. I'm a very passionate person. I've been playing the guitar for about 35 years, 40 years. Yeah, and I'm very good at it. I'm very good at classical guitar as well as electric guitar. I'm also a sports person. I used to be a karateka. I have medals for kumite, for combat fighting. I swim almost every day. Yeah, I play Scrabble, I play billiards, badminton, table tennis, and I'm pretty good at all of those things. So passion to me provides sort of vitamins in life. Yeah. So I think those first two P's are important. So power, passion, and then the third one is persistence. Yeah. People are not persistent enough in pursuing the life, in pursuing the accomplishments and the dreams and aspiration. We need to be persistent in life. As mentioned, oftentimes the wind blows, in our lives that are simply too strong, and then we sort of are swept under our feet, and then we fall, and then we try to bounce back again, and then walk again or run again, but we need to be persistent. Yeah, because persistence is, to me, the key to success. Yeah, without persistence, I don't think we can achieve anything. I don't think we can accomplish anything. Yeah, so persistence is important, and persistence is actually one of the characteristics of what the Prophet Muhammad had preached to Muslims, that you need to be istiqamah. Yeah? The term for it is istiqamah, which is to be persistent and to be strong-willed about our dreams, about our aspirations, about any endeavors that we undertake. Even the concept of jihad, for instance, the concept of jihad essentially means, endeavoring something, with passion, with persistence. Yeah, so jihad is not always, connoted as physical fighting. Jihad is much more of an inner battle, yeah, within ourselves. There was once an episode in the Islamic history where the Prophet had just returned from a major battle called Badr, and then the Prophet came to his companions and said, "Look, we have just returned from a minor battle and now entering the major battle." And then his companions were asking, "What minor battle? That was a huge battle that we just undertook." And he said, the major battle is really the battle within ourselves. Yeah, so that is the underlying philosophy of Sufism, really. It's to be able to fight and struggle with your inner devils, with the devils within you. And that is considered as the major battle, the major struggle. It's a struggle within, it's not the struggle without. It's not the physical battles and wars that we come across in our lives, but it's much more of that inner battle. Yeah. The other P is prayers. Yeah. Muslims pray 5 times a day. Yeah. Some pray maybe 3 times a day, or 5 times, but in 3 zones, time zones. And so we do a lot of that. I'm sure Ikhlas still prays, and I'm sure he also does the commendable prayers. So we have obligatory prayers and we have commendable prayers. Yeah. Oftentimes, the more religious one becomes, the more spiritual one becomes, the more prayers that they undertake. Yeah. But praying, I think, is also another method in which people find power within themselves. Yeah, because one of the things about prayers is that you must remember, prayers are rituals. Yeah, so when one enters a ritual, one really escapes the reality, yeah, the materiality of the world. Yeah, and when one enters a ritual, it means that he or she is entering sacred time and sacred place and even sacred history. And one of the things that I've reflected on regarding prayers is that once I'm inside my prayers, I feel like all of the problems that I'm facing suddenly becomes minor, suddenly becomes manageable, suddenly becomes something that is not so bad after all. Yeah, and that they are there to test me, that they are there to test my strength, to test my persistence. So power, passion, persistence, prayers, and lastly is patience. Yeah, you need to bear patience when you are confronting a crisis in life. Everybody faces crisis in life, yeah, whether it be your career, whether it be your relationship with your family, your spouse, your siblings, your friends, your neighbors, your good friends, and so on and so forth. Yeah. Um, and you need to be patient. Why? Because patience is really a way for us to sort of think that there are more to life than the problems that we are currently in. Yeah, because ultimately, we say in Indonesia that things come to pass. Yeah, and so any problems and challenges that we face will ultimately come to pass. And this is one reality that oftentimes we forget. Yeah, oftentimes when we are entrenched in our problems and in life's challenges, we tend to think that this will go on and on forever, but it's not. That's why they say that time heals. Yeah, that time is a magical thing if you come to think of it. Yeah? Time is miraculous to me, because time actually heals. It heals our wounds. Yeah, and oftentimes as much hurt that you have probably experienced in life, time ultimately heals. And one of the good things about us being mortal beings is that we forget as well. Yeah. And so I feel like each time I confront any of the problems in life, I try to just stick it out, yeah, and just be patient. We say in the Quran, "Inna Allaha ma'as sabirin," that Allah is with those who are patient. So thank you. I think I'll just add one more thing, that the difference between your sort of understanding of conventional Islam and Sufism is that the Islam being currently spread and disseminated, really the definitions of Islam from the exoteric perspective. Yeah? When you're dealing with Sufism, you're really dealing with the esoteric meanings of Islam, yeah, the applications of the esoteric Islam as opposed to exoteric form of Islam. So when one talks about let's say the jurisprudence on prayers, the 5 obligatory prayers, one might argue that that is an obligation for all Muslims to undertake, right? But the question is, what is the meaning of those 5 obligatory prayers? Now that has many meanings, that has many definitions and many interpretations. Now for Sufism, we are much more interested in the esoteric meaning of life, as esoteric meaning and applications of Islam, as opposed to the more rigid form of, let's say, juristic Islam. Yeah, so this is the major difference between what you have known about Islam and what Islam is and or is not within the perspective of Sufism.
Okay. Thank you, Dicky. I think this discussion going to go on a little bit, but just keep it, just absorb it. And Professor Ikhlas,
Okay, thank you. Okay. Before that, I want to explain.
Sorry. I muted you. Yes, sorry.
Okay. I want to explain 2 perspectives to understand about Islam. One is theology perspective and one is Sufism perspective. Before I found my teacher who taught me about Sufism and Islamic philosophy, I saw Islam from theology perspective. What I mean from theology perspective is what I understand from Quran and from Sunnah. Yes, what I understand. And I mean, when I read Quran and I understand it, and this is the meaning of Quran. And this is, for me, this is theology. This is theology. Like when I found the first thought about Judaism, maybe Judaism is my enemy. But when I commented, I saw from Sufism perspective, Judaism is mine, is in me. When I see something from esoteric perspective, religion is not community from Sufism perspective. You know, religion is not community. Religion, the face of religion, explain yourself. Judaism explain your face outwardly, and Christianity explain your what inwardly. This is religion. When I understand Quran from Sufism perspective. Now, I told you about my brothers. When he married a Catholic woman, she didn't convert her religion to become a Muslim. No. Now, she is still the Catholic woman. Still. When my father asked me why you allow him to marry a Catholic woman, I gave him from theology perspective and Sufism perspective. From theology perspective, I found in the Quran Al-Ma'idah. Yes, Al-Ma'idah. I read this one. This day, all the good things are allowed to you, and the food of those who have been given the book is lawful for you, and your food is lawful for them. And the chaste from among the believing women, and the chaste from among those who have been given the book before you, when you have given them their dowries, taking them in marriage, no, this means Quran said it's allowed to you to marry Ahlul Kitab. Like Judaism, Catholic is Ahlul Kitab. Ahlul Kitab. So from this verse, I told my father, no, Islam allow Muslim to marry a Catholic woman from theology perspective. And from Sufism perspective, I say, what happened? This religion, what happened was the religion. It is why we limited love by religion. Why we determine religion? Why we determine love by community? It's beyond. Love is beyond community. Love is beyond beyond religion. From those perspectives, I told my father, and yes, all my family allow my brothers to marry a Catholic woman, and my older brother before that, he didn't allow my younger brother to marry a Catholic woman. And after discussing it with my older brother, he gave me permission to use his mouse to marry my younger brother. I don't know. This is the different chance before I explain him about Sufism perspective and before I explain from the verse of Quran. And my whole family understood. And so now my younger brothers have two kids, and their kids will choose what they want to believe. They didn't say you must my kid, you have to become a Muslim. No. They choose. They gave
Freedom.
Freedom to choose a religion what they want. So I saw what kind of perspective you see the religion from theology perspective or from Sufism perspective. It's all Islam. Just it's on this perspective. Okay, this is what I understand and I can share with you. Thank you.
I think it's also important, let me just add a few things. It's also important to realize that, religion, if you come to think of it, is really about interpretation. Yeah? Everything about religion is interpretation. Of course, there are sacred languages that are used by any and all religions, yeah? But ultimately, everything is interpreted, right? And everything is also mediated. Yeah? So the mediation of religion is something that is given for all religions involved. Whatever religion you adhere to, yeah? And obviously, if you think of the world religion, so to speak, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, and so on, these are considered what's called, religions from heaven, religions from the sky. Yeah? Agama Samawi, we call it here in Indonesia. But ultimately, the religion of the skies are all mediated. They are mediated by the presence of angels, mediated by prophets, by messengers of God, mediated by the words of God, mediated by the language itself, by the ayahs, the verses of the Quran, of the Bible, of the speech of Jesus, or the speech of Buddha, and so on and so forth, right? And then, the longer time that religion is expanded through, since its beginning until today, there is obviously no doubt in my mind that there would be misinterpretation, that there would be misunderstanding about what the true intent of the message is really, and I think this is something which is very human, something that is very natural. Yeah. And again, we are dealing with time. If you think about Islam, Islam has been around for 1,400 years. So there are bound to be misinterpretations and misunderstandings from certain individuals or certain groups or communities. And when you think about the ulama, when you think about the religious scholars and teachers, they too have a wide range of spectrum of understanding and awareness about the sacred language, about the true and intent of every verse and every message of the religion. So, this is where spirituality comes in, I think, because when you go into spirituality, when you go into the esoteric meaning of religion, all of those differences don't mean a thing. All of these different and wide range of interpretations don't really mean much to them. Why? Because for them, what's most important is how do we cultivate the mind and the hearts so that we can become closer to God, closer to Allah, and then become perfect ideals for other human beings. We have this concept of al-insan al-kamil, or the perfect being, which is sort of the paragon of humanity. That is the true intent of Islam, which is to produce the paragons of humanity, to produce exemplars for society. So that's why, to me, when people talk about Islam and then not talk about social justice, to me, that's not really Islam. When you talk about Islam and you're not talking about fairness, and you're engaging in discrimination, that's not Islam, because I don't think that would be the true intent of Allah for humanity, for the world. So I just want to put that out so that you can get a clearer picture and understanding and awareness between the distinction of the sort of conventional Islamic theological understanding and the Sufi understanding of Islam. Thank you, Nat.
Thank you. I think we just have gone through some really interesting exchanges and understanding of Islam and Islamic practice from two practitioners. It's 10 o'clock now. Let's take about 5 minutes break. Think about these questions. Think about things that you may want to explore, understand the practice. Islam, practice, Sufism, whatever that comes to your mind. Keep in mind our GMF journey of trying to find this way to reach this inner life. Here's a method. Don't even think it's Islam. It's a method to us. It's given to us by tradition. Can we absorb that thing? This whole thing, this Ikhlas shared. Religion love cannot be limited by religion or community. It's such a powerful thing to remember that, there is no such thing as a religion limiting us. When we're talking about love and compassion, it's beyond all these things. So how can you actually limit? It's the same thing with compassion. You cannot limit compassion by saying that I will be only compassionate to my people. That makes no sense. And as what Dicky shared about this idea of, how can you be a Muslim? How can you practice Islam without talking about justice? So I think these are things to think about. So let's take about 5-10 minutes. Let's take 10 minutes. I mean, it's a very heavy area we are, moving across. Look at it. But reflect on the things that has been going on inside your mind about Islam. Islam has also been demonized in so many senses, and also have been given you a celebration of Islam, and demonization of Islam has been going on in the media, in the public media, in our personal conversations, and there are a lot of questions going on in your mind. Now's the time to discuss it, explore it, bring it out. This whole discussion on jihad. Jihad is really an inner struggle. Jihad is not about, what they are describing outside, and they got jihadis and, all this demonization going on, and the whole idea of jihad, when jihad has a very specific, powerful meaning. We are in the GMF fellowship, exploring that jihad. We are not using the word, but that's what we are doing. We are trying to struggle with ourselves before we can offer ourselves to the social or political life, in the way in which we are not talking about party politics, we are not talking about community politics, we are talking about how do we serve So please take some time, think about it. 10 minutes, it's 10:10. Let's come back at 10:20 and continue the conversation. Is that okay, Dicky, Ikhlas? Okay, 10 minutes. Just think about something to come and share or explore. Take care. You okay, Alan?
I'm okay. Thank you, Dr. Nan. How are you?
Huh?
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you? You okay?
I'm okay. Doing fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're out of this COVID context.
Yeah. I actually need to do a full medical checkup to really know how it has impacted me. Yeah, but I feel better. Yes.
Yeah. Please keep taking that medication, and you please ask Dr. Sibi to give you nourishing concoction. There are some nourishing concoctions which help build your system, particularly your breathing system. You are asthmatic patient. No? There are certain some kind of nourishing paste they make. You start taking, they're all herbal, all multi-herbal preparation that are very good.
Okay.
You just talk to him and say you want some nourishing. They have certain preparation, they call it, I mean, there's an Indian word for it, but it's okay. You say, you just tell him that you want some nourishing medicines for my body. I'm post-COVID situation, how do I take care of myself? So he will probably ask you to take a few things, and that will be strengthen yours. You have to strengthen your breathing system, because you already have a problem with your asthmatic this thing, no? And this coronavirus now, they attacks your breathing system, though now it is on the upper respiratory and the earlier ones are lower respiratory, but anyway you have to defend that, and of course your general health and immunity. That is something. I'm not sure if you're into Ayurveda medications.
Never tried before.
You have to. You please try, and keep in mind.
The first one is the one that was sent to me.
Yes.
By.
Yeah. You see, it is all herbal. Huh? It's all herbal, which means that what you're doing with Ayurveda and any other thing, whether it's Unani or whether it is what it call Siddha, or many of the Chinese TCM, anything, these are all herb with and authentic practitioners. They know exactly which herb to give you. And what do the chemicals do? They do actually, they pull out these active ingredients and pump you with it. That's what they do. So you artificially manufacture the active ingredient and then serve you. So that's the only difference. So it's better to take a herb which will be less than impact on you, but it really takes care of your general health. That is what, So in your case, what you need is more now nourishing. What you did just now was to address some problems that you faced. So it addresses that. what these medications, most of this traditional medication does is, it does not address the problem directly. It addresses the imbalance in your body. The theory is the body has become imbalanced. And when your body is imbalanced, it produces illnesses. What you need to do is to bring the balance back. Okay, so by bringing the balance back, it creates an internal environment so that you are taken care of and you are strengthened. Your systems are strengthened. This is a similar kind of logic that works across the different healing systems in the traditional sense. So what you're doing is you have taken some things to address certain pathological condition. Now you need something that actually nourishes your body, strengthens it. So you talk to him, you just say, if you can give me some thing that, I'm post-COVID, I'm not sure what are the things that have been affected. So in Ayurveda, they already started talking about post-COVID care. So he must know what to give you, okay? And you also tell him that you are an asthmatic patient. Because you're an asthmatic patient, your system is already under stress. So you have to tell him that, and so they can give you certain things. And you please start taking that. You're just actually consuming nature, that's all. Okay. This nature that you just went for a walk, that's the same nature that is inside that liquid and paste, which will be useful for you. Amrina, do you take traditional medications?
I'm having the chia seeds and lemon with honey, and also what is it called in English? I don't know. It's kind of the thing that we put in our food,
Okay.
like cinnamon. And yeah, that's kind of things.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so as long as you're doing something in that sense, some that comes from traditions, from your village knowledge and things like that, which they do during certain illness, please do that. That will be useful. Right? That will be very. And of course, you take dates and all that, right?
Sorry.
Dates. Do you take dates?
Yeah. But I really take dates unless it is Ramadan.
Okay, you don't like it.
I don't really like this, but unless it is a very dry dish, then that one I would love to eat.
Yeah, the Prophet advised that you have to take this dates called ajwa. There's a ajwa dates. That is a very a date that support your health and your well-being too. You just read about this the Prophet's discussion on this ajwa dates. That is a date,
it's a very small date.
It's a very small date, yes.
Yeah,
So
I like that one.
Yeah, so you actually if you go to
But
the
it's very
shop,
expensive.
yeah, it's very expensive. But if you go to you have to go to a proper organic shop and get the proper one and take them regularly. It's really good. And the Prophet used to do that. That's something that he used to take, and so it's good to take. And in times when you are really energyless, don't take glucose. You soak this dates in honey, good honey, and if you take the dates and honey together, it's like glucose. It gives you the energy that you need, and it's natural. So this is,
you are right.
yeah. So you need to you need to interact with nature in so many different ways and different layers. Not just use it, but understand it has given us everything that we need. We just have to take care and understand. Okay, this place. So in the Prophet's tradition, ajwa is very important, and even in certain centers in India, which are run by Hindus, they will suggest to put this dates and honey, people who are doing meditation and not eating, just keeping themselves starving. Starving means not eating in the regular sense of we need 3 meals. No, there's no 3 meals. You just need, maybe you need one good meal and one smaller meal. But he need 3 meals because it's an industry. You have 3 meals. But they also give, in times when you are not feeling very energetic, they will soak the dates and honey and keep it aside. It never gets spoiled. So you can actually soak and keep, and you can take that. It's the same thing.
For Chinese, there's the confinement drink.
Yes, yeah.
Oh,
One whole month.
One or
Yeah.
one, yeah, yes. So it's already there in every tradition. So if you go back and look at some of what our mothers, grandmothers did, then you begin to understand they understood nature, or they received this blessing from nature, and they just used those things in very much in advance before the problem becomes very serious. Even there's now we have the issue of throat infection and cough and this thing, something like scraped ginger soaked in honey again is good to take. It's like a lozenge. The lozenges you take for your throat irritation is something like lozenge. So you put honey, but you got to get good honey. And this honey that you get from the commercial, I don't know whether it's sweetened sugar or something, but you have to get a proper honey from the organic stores or from the indigenous areas where they sell, from the honeycomb itself. You need that honey, and you mix honey with ginger. It's a lozenge. It takes care of your throat. Early, you have to start early. Don't let it become very bad. Then it takes a different intervention before you get back to the natural herbs that you need. So some of these things, some of these traditions, if you look at it, is just incredible. How much of knowledge they knew of nature, and how to then take things so that you don't get into trouble. Yeah. I'm sure, if you start looking at the cultures in Sri Lanka, you'll begin to see this, this links between natural ways of healing and how they can be used, can be absorbed as knowledge and practice. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Okay. Okay, we move into the second part. So there's no second part. I mean, we just continue. I hope you have some, deeper questions to ask Professor Dicky and Professor Ikhlas, so that our understanding of this religion, this approach to spirituality, this approach to inner life is further strengthened. It could be more on practices. It could be more on practice and politics. Things, any of those things could be shared. But I am really interested in. I hope Professor Ikhlas or you, Dicky, will share with us that Sufi dance. I am just fascinated by that dance. But so I hope it can be shared. Okay. Yes.
Oh, Mr. Dicky.
Your questioning is what will keep this engagement, going and also deepen.
hello. Are we ready for the next discussion?
Okay.
Assalamualaikum, Dr.
Waalaikumsalam.
Ikhlas and Professor Dicky. So my name is
Salam.
Yeah. So as you can see, I'm Muslim. I actually studied in International Islamic University, Malaysia. So I was exposed to different Islamic practice. Like we also have students from the east part of the world, which is Arabic and also Algerian. So they practice a different mazhab, if I could say the term. And for everyone here, we actually have a different Islamic practices within the world. So maybe in Indonesia they have their own practices and understanding. In Malaysia, we also have a different practices. So here I'm very curious of Sufism, because before I was doing minoring in Islamic religion knowledge. So basically, I have a basic understanding about what is Sufism, what is the different mazhab and everything. But I understand that Sufism is not a part of mazhab, right? So it's a kind of practice, or I would say, I don't know what is the right term to put here, but it's a kind of what you choose to understand and what you actually practice in your idea of being close to God, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. So I understand Sufism in this kind of concept, like there is oneness within human and God, in which in a mainstream of Islam, in which for the everyone here, they I mean Muslims as general, we don't really put ourselves in that oneness of our own self to God. I mean we separate ourselves as a different identity from God and humans, because we don't belong together as God created us and we are the servant of God. So God is not a part of us. I mean, us, our body is not a part of God. So we don't own the parts of God on our body. So this is the thing that Muslims all over the world understand in a way. So I just want to understand. I mean, it makes me very curious. What is the most interesting part where you get to know Sufism, and one thing that make you hold on to Sufism, despite of compassion and love. So maybe there is a practice or there is a concept that not being known to other people. So yeah.
I think the question is open to you and for all of us to learn. Please. Maybe Dicky can start it off.
You are on mute, Prof. Dicky. We
Yeah,
cannot
okay.
hear you.
Yes, I'll begin. Again, I'm moving to a different place now. Again, I'm constantly moving, and this has been really my life since the very beginning, even prior to the pandemic, but until the era of the pandemic. Although now, because of the transition from pandemic to endemic, now it seems like my travelings have become much more normalized these days. So anyways, thank you very much, Amalie. Question, and I understand where you're coming from. I've been to Malaysia maybe 50 times, 60 times over the course of my life. I did the fellowship at the University Kebangsaan Malaysia as well, at UKM in Bangi, but I've been to many parts of Malaysia, including Sabah, including Labuan, Sarawak, virtually all of Sarawak, and obviously the Peninsula Malaysia. I've also done some research and publications on sort of religion and politics in Malaysia. You can find this in some of the open access journals that you can find. And most of my commentaries and analysis on Islam in Malaysia has been to sort of look at the different ways in which religion and politics, especially ethnic politics, are converged. Yeah, because as we know, ethnic politics and religion are one of the same coin, if you like, in Malaysia. But your question is really interesting, and I think this begs the issue of how do we look at ourselves? How do we look at ourselves as human beings? Are we all truly natural? Are there anything which might suggest that there are some elements in us that might be non-natural or that might be divine, right? So this is where I think the contention lies with respect to the sort of common and conventional understanding of Islam and how Sufis view human beings. Yeah. So I think your question really goes to the heart of the matter. because the issue, as I mentioned earlier, was that one of the objectives of Sufism is to produce al-insan al-kamil, or the perfect beings. Yeah, the perfect being means that we need to come to the realization that human beings are multidimensional creatures. Yeah, that we are not just made up of materiality, that we are not just rational beings, that we are not just social animals that have interests, that have, hold on, anything, that have interests, that have, sorry, my friends are leaving me and I've been asked to just wait here for a while. So that gives me time to focus on your question. So the heart of the matter really is, what are we? So apart from the question of who we are, but what are we essentially? Are we just, bones and, meat and blood and hair and, all of those material, natural things in this world? Or is there something that is non-natural in us? Yeah. And obviously the Quran, from the Islamic perspective, the Quran deals with many of these issues. It talks about the ruh, or the soul of human beings, right? And I think much of the discussions from the Islamic sort of theology talks about the ruh as being something that is non-natural. And I think this is sort of the mainstream Islamic theology and understanding of ruh, yeah, that it is non-natural, that is not from this world. Yeah, in fact, there is a phrase in the Quran which states, وَنَفَخْتُ مِنْ رُوحِي. Yeah, and then we blew our spirit. And so what is this ruh? Come to think of it, is ruh the spirit? Is it like a ghost? Is it the spirit of God, the spirit of Allah? And this has been the bone of contention in sort of the discussion, the deliberation and debate between the sort of conventional Islamic theology and mysticism. Because if you look at the science of Sufism, it's really, metaphysical Islam. It's Islam from the metaphysical perspective, and not looking at it from the physical materiality of things. Yeah. So this is one thing that I think I can answer just for this moment. I can elaborate much more later on, but it's a question about the divine. It's a question about how we see the ruh, or the spirit, in all human beings. Is that natural or unnatural? And where does it originate from? Does it originate from this world, or does it originate from other world? Thank you.
Maybe you want to answer the question? Professor Ikhlas?
Okay. I want to explain about others between Islamic theology, between the perspective of Islamic theology and Sufism perspective. When you see from Islamic theology perspective, you find there is no one can get revelation from God. We believe that Muhammad is the last prophet. So there is no one can get revelation from God. This is our belief when we see revelation from Islamic theology perspective. But when you see revelation from Sufism perspective, no. Everyone who get spirituality, who do sarwa suluk, it means spiritual journey, he can get revelation from God. God didn't terminate his revelation to others. You know, there is different revelation. We know there is different revelation from what our Prophet Muhammad got and what the Sufism get. This is the difference. So we say wahyu, and we say is ilham. Yes, this is all in English. We say revelation. This is a Sufism perspective. So, because my dissertation about Sufism commentary about Quran, this is different. So when Sufi says something, he can say, I got this one from God. From God. And this is the mean why who follow Islamic theology perspective, he say Sufi is kufr, Sufi is kafir. Yeah, kafir is mean what? Unbelievable. Unbeliever. Sufism open revelation. I mean, in Sufism perspective, God opened his revelation. If you do Sair Suluk, it means spiritual journey. Someday, but step by step, like you can say that Mr. Nat, Professor Nat explained, like whirling dance. Yes, this is one of we say sama. Yeah, and you get fana, and you get fana, and you see God in you, God in me, God in me. This is what we say. There is we say mukashafa. Mukashafa is open spiritual realm, to open spiritual realm, and you can see what Prophet Muhammad saw. We say Isra is a spiritual journey, like Muslim believe that Muhammad went from Makkah to heaven, and they believe heaven is from real matter, realm of matter. But in Sufism perspective, Sidratul Muntaha is mean the last the last way. We can go there. We can find revelation from there. So there is. I want to tell you something. In Indonesia, there was a woman. She thought that she got revelation from Jibril, and all people said this woman is kafir, is unbeliever. She is out from Islam. But when you say from a Sufism perspective, don't tell that. Maybe that woman get revelation from God what they didn't feel, they didn't understand. This is the difference between Islamic theology perspective and Sufism perspective. What I have understood. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So, yeah, Amelina, it may not completely answer, but I think there is some sort of an attempt to answer your question.
Okay.
But this is a very long discussion that will go on.
Okay.
But we can look at this whole idea of revelation or what Dicky shared. So I think let's hold a discussion about, so there are two approaches to understanding this, and let's hold on there. I mean, if you are interested, you need to
Yeah.
you can explore later, but also, continue our journey into exploring other things. So as we are now moving towards the second hour, can I suggest that how do you now connect, this inner journey that you undertake as a Sufi? We are looking at Sufi Islam, or Sufism. If you are not happy with the idea of Sufi Islam, how do you connect that with the way in which we work in the social field, the way in which we work in the political field? How do we connect this inner journey, inner life, and how do we connect that? This struggle to find ourselves, this struggle to explore ourselves, to understand ourselves, to understand what we are, who we are, and how do we connect that with the social, political, cultural context that we are in. So if we can spend some time thinking about that, because the whole idea of this inner journey, as I've shared from the beginning, is not that we want to become religious teachers or spiritual practitioners, but also to see how we can engage in society, in community, locally, globally, in a much more deeper sense. Okay. So I leave that question to both Professor Dicky and Professor Ikhlas to share with us.
Well, I think first of all, before we make any presumptions that we are out to transform society and make a change in society or in this world, we need to realize that social transformation begins with personal transformation. Yeah. So anything that you hope to materialize and realize in society, you must first be able to do so within yourselves. Yeah. So if you want others to be good, then you need to be good yourself. I mean, this is why the Sufistic approach to me makes sense. Because before we could really transform society, we need to transform ourselves. We need to make better ourselves and make perfect our hearts and mind and our benevolent acts, our amal, as we call it. Yeah. And so it is important for us to constantly, have this dialogue with ourselves and to think, whether I can be a better person or not to others. Yeah, not just for ourselves, but to others. Yeah, because ultimately the idea of one of the objectives of Sufism is also this idea about fana, or this idea about self-annihilation. Yeah, because the ultimate goal is not yourself, although the journey is within yourself, but the ultimate goal is not yourself. The ultimate goal is to materialize justice, to materialize benevolence, to materialize and realize goodness in society, and to be able to provide inspiration for others to also do good. Yeah, so there, as much as you might think that Sufism is very personal and very individual, but there are many social aspects and social dimensions to this idea about Islamic spirituality. Yeah, because without that personal transformation, we cannot hope to inspire others to do good in society. Yeah, because then people will think, if you're not doing that, why would you expect us to do that? Yeah. And so that's why the idea of self-annihilation becomes quite central within Sufism. Yeah, because self-annihilation means that you are trying your best to really kill the inner ego within yourself. That is the idea of fana. That is the idea of self-annihilation, and that you no longer have personalized interest in whatever social good you do. Yeah, so everything we do is for God and God only, for His pleasure, and to help Him establish divine justice, and to bring down the mercy and the compassion that he talks about a lot. I mean, you've probably heard the phrase Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, which essentially means in the name of God, the beneficent, the merciful. And this is mentioned 114 times in the Quran. And to think that even just that phrase alone brings in and invites a lot of theological questions and issues to bear. One is, why is it in His name, and why is it beneficence, and why is it mercy? Because it might seem, although it might seem that Islam is a very patriarchal religion, but many of the attributes of God, the sifat, the attributes and the names of God are really feminine. And so the question is whether the God of Islam is masculine or feminine. And this is also one of the debates within the sort of larger discussion about Islamic theology, and Islamic spirituality. And hence the idea about Jamal and Jalal, about the beauty of God and the greatness of God. Yeah, and this has been the sort of the main contention between the nature of God, between what is seen as the attributes of God. So on the one hand, he or she, whatever you call him or her or it, that it has a lot of these feminine qualities, the feminine qualities that reflect beauty. But then in addition to that, there are also many sort of masculine attributes and characteristics of God in Islam that talks about His greatness, that talks about His power, that talks about His just ruling, and so on and so forth. Now, for the Sufis, they are much more inclined to talk more about the aspect of Jamal, about the aspect of beauty or aesthetics. Yeah, and that is the main difference with the sort of conventional theology that you find in Islam. So their focus and their emphasis is much more on the beauty aspect of God. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will continue. Yes. The first is how to understand our enemy so we can do jihad. Our enemy is not outward. Our enemy is inward, in ourselves. This is jihad akbar, we say. The greatest jihad is to kill our evil in ourselves, our bad desire. This is the greatest jihad. First, we can do that. And this is Sufism perspective about jihad. Not to kill other people. Jihad is to kill your evil in your inward, in yourself. I mean, and after that, we think about others. I want to say about Indonesian context. We find commentaries of Quran, most of them from Islamic theology perspective. So when you say in Indonesia, they blame others. It is because they believe from Islamic theology perspective to understand Quran. We have discussed about others how to write, how to translate Sufism perspective, how to understand Quran from Sufism perspective, so we can respect others without blaming them. This is what can I do with my friends, with my teacher. So we can, in this discussion, we can share what our understanding. So yeah, we can get benefits from there. That is what I can say. Thank you.
Dicky, is there anything else you want to further take this discussion to another context?
Well, I would be very interested to know your own journeys and your own, challenges that you face with respect to, how do you see yourself? I mean, when you wake up in the morning, you see yourself in the mirror. Who do you see? What do you see? I mean, these are some of the questions that I often ask myself. Who am I? What am I? Where did I come from? Where am I going? I mean, these are very basic questions that all, I think, people who are on a journey would often reflect on and contemplate on. Sometimes we do the things that we do. I mean, I can see a lot of Muslims doing very well in terms of their rituals, in terms of their prayers, the supplications, the recitations of the Quran, and they do good, but do they actually know the essence of the rituals, the meanings behind these rituals, and the idea about this obedience to God, this worship to God, to Allah? And my guess is many people are unaware. Many people just do the things because they feel like it's an obligation as a Muslim. It's something that we must do. It's something that my parents did or have been doing. And I think the same goes with any and all religious adherents and people of faith. So we need to ask ourselves, are we on the right path? Are we comfortable with the current path that we are traversing? Yeah. And do we feel that this will bring blissfulness and happiness in our lives? Because I think that is also an important objective in life. Yeah. From the Sufistic perspective, it's much more aesthetics. Yeah. It's more about looking at the beauty of creation, the beauty of life, about the beauty of religions, about the beauty of the humankind, and so on and so forth. Yeah. I mean, that's why some scholars might argue, some skeptics might argue that Sufism is much more of an escapist approach to life and living and religiosity. Yeah, it's a way to sort of get around the harsh and difficult realities of religious community building or religious conflicts or whatnot. But for some, they see Sufism as a pathway. I mean, if one were to reflect on Islam, I mean, everything about Islam really refers to a pathway. The idea about Sharia, fiqh, the idea about tariqah, Yeah, and all of these things, they all refer to a pathway. You know, and so the question is, are we on the right path or not? And I'm asking this from an interreligious perspective. I mean, you could be a Catholic, you could be a Christian, a Hindu, a Buddhist, or even, you know, an agnostic. You know, are you happy with the current pathway that you are journeying? Are you happy with the journey that you are currently in? So these are some of the more sort of foundational questions that you need to ask yourselves.
Let's spend some time on that question. Amalina, maybe you can answer as, as a Muslim to start the discussion.
Yeah, I think among Muslims, and I also heard about from my non-Muslim friends that our religion is being born with us. So there is an issue that when we are born, we can't choose our own religion. So this comes to the idea of freedom. So I mean, people now they are fighting for their own freedom. So they are taking to the part of religion whereby, why should I be born as Muslim? Why I should be born as a Christian? But at the same time, I somehow when they want to change their religion, they come to the issues of parents not being considerate of this thing. So to my point of view, in the practices of Islam, that are we aware of what we are doing? I think there is a lot of people. I mean, there are a lot of people who understand what they are doing about their religion, but there are also a lot of people who actually take religion as a custom practices. So the religion has become a culture that the practices is being done because has been passed from generation. So it can go to the Christian, it can go to the Buddhist as well. So I think all of you might understand this. So you learn the practice not from a guru or a teacher or a monk, but you start the very first practice from your own parents. So what your parents are doing is what you are actually doing until you get into a certain age. You get to know some people, you get to know some group of people that they might have a different kind of practices. So this is where you are going to question yourself. Is what I'm doing is right? Is what I'm doing is wrong? So somehow when you get exposed a new knowledge, so you get to know that nobody is wrong, but nobody is too right in doing things. So thinking about this, knowing about us, knowing about God, knowing about our religion, uh, is one thing that we need to take through the journey of life. I don't think it is one thing that could be done in a month. So yeah, this is the question that keep coming to our own, even Muslims, right? I think in our religion, there is some quotes that some older people used to say that you cannot question this kind of thing. This is against our belief. This is against our own akidah. So, but then when I learned about religion from the, I would say, from the correct path or the correct person, in which they study about the religion itself, they know things, they know, because religion, even though we are thinking about the sources of religion, we have Quran and Sunnah, and religion itself doesn't need us to fully take action on a thing that we don't understand. So even in Quran, and also God has says that do not blindly follow things. Know your thing before you follow. So this is the thing that I think, not sure about every one of us. So this is one thing that's very crucial that, but I believe our community and the society is getting better at it, that people are knowing about us. But one thing that I worried about Islam and our own belief is when we are too much about being about fighting about freedom, our own right, human right, and everything, we put aside our main Islamic jurisprudence. So what is lawful, exactly lawful, stated in the Quran is being against it. So this is my worry, seeing the current community. But yeah, I agree with Professor Dicky that we tend to follow things that being passed to us, yeah, knowing what we are doing. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Amalina. That's very helpful, for your sharing. And I think you can find a lot of the same kind of sentiments coming out from other people of other faiths as well. I mean, oftentimes, in this complex and complicated life, sometimes people just engage in rituals because they just want to escape from the true reality of their own life and living. Sometimes life just becomes too unbearable that they want to do something totally different. And this is what rituals are there for. That's one of the functions of rituals. If you look into the literature, is to really to enable oneself to escape reality, because oftentimes reality is unbearable. And I've written about this. I talked about the the function of religion, the function of rituals in local communities, especially those who are close by or residing near bodies of water. So whether they be fishermen's village, in Batanes, in the northern tip of the Philippines, or whether it be the Orang Asli residing near Tasik Chini, for instance, or people living in the rivers of Kiriwong, or the Japanese people living in and around the Biwako region, and so on. Yeah? So I take rituals as something that can help human beings to make life more bearable. It also provides a perspective on things. One of the things that religion and spirituality provide is a sort of cross-national, cross-time consciousness. Yeah. So it provides an understanding beyond ourselves, beyond the existence of our own lives. Yeah. So it cuts across history, it cuts across civilization, time periods, histories, and nationalities, and so on and so forth. So I think that's an important part of religion and important part of spirituality. One of the things that Amalina mentioned is also about essentially what we call the dictatorship of authenticity. Yep. When people of faith are engaging in their religion and participating in their religion, oftentimes they are dictated by this notion of authenticity, meaning to say that, am I doing this correctly? Is this an authentic part of Islam? Is this an authentic part of Catholicism, of Christianity, of Hinduism, Buddhism? Is this the right sequence for the ritual, for the festivity, and so on and so forth? So people are dictated by authenticity. And because of that, oftentimes people get put off. People get put off because they are unable to get the essence of the religion or the spiritual forms, or even the intent and the function of specific rituals. So beware of this dictatorship of authenticity. Yeah, I mean, we are all trying to live our lives as authentic as possible. Yeah, but when you are engaging in a certain religious practice or spiritual practice, oftentimes we are dictated, overly dictated by authenticity, and that, to me, is a sort of self-defeating method in enriching our lives and expanding our spiritual horizon and experiences. Thank you.
Ikhlas?
Okay. When I say I want to follow Sufi path, I don't mean I want to be a liberal man. I allow everything. That's what most people believe. Like when I explain, I allow my my younger brother to marry a Catholic woman. I don't mean when I follow Sufi path, I allow everything. I say everything is halal. No, it's mean I want to ask what people believe, why they believe that everything what I believe, I want to ask every single time why I believe God, why I believe Prophet Muhammad, why, and how I believe that. What perspective I want to choose to believe that. This is the mean. I ask everything. I studied Quran. I have memorized all Quran before that, and I have studied Islamic philosophy, and I ask all what I studied. I don't want to believe something that I don't want to ask. My people, my students sometimes ask me, why you do that? Why you don't believe what people believe, what Muslim believe? No, I believe that, but I see from other verse, I see from other Sunnah. There are many verse, there are many commentaries of Quran, there are many Sunnah from other mazhabs, yeah, and because I read them, I read the books, so I can choose one of them. So when I allow my younger brother to marry a Catholic woman, it means I have justification to allow him to marry a Catholic woman. I don't say this is human right. No. I even my younger brothers did what he believed, and me, I don't teach him you must do that, you must do Islamic jurisprudence like that, and from this mazhab. No, there is many mazhab in Islam, there is many perspective in Islam, so we can choose that if rational, if that perspective is rational, I followed it. This is why why I ask everything from my religion. This is something strange for me, but I know I have read everything from my religion, but I find in the last oh, I did nothing. I did nothing. What mean? There is only perspective. I memorize them, and I feel emptiness sometimes. But sometimes when I saw the people hungry, and God say, why you didn't come to me to give me something? And when I say my my neighbor is sick, I see my God say, why you didn't come to see me? This is sickness is one of manifestation of God. I don't say God, but I say manifestation of God. So I have to come to see the God from my neighbor who is sick, because he is a manifestation of God. To see all things as a manifestation of God make me make me mindfulness of God. Yeah, this is what I want to share with you.
Okay. Maybe getting into very areas that we need to take time to reflect. Okay, we have a little bit more time left. Would there be something like some sharing which are more like, I mean, we have been sharing these ideas, these things, aspects of Islam, theological or Sufi. But is there some way in which we say, okay, this practice, this steps, these stages, this way of taking the path, some definite ways in which this inner self is reached. I mean, you all shared all these things throughout the discussion, but is there something which we can do deeper into the practice of being a Muslim, being a Sufi? What do you do to be a Sufi, or how do you bring the Sufi out of you? Even though you may be professing another religion, I may be a Buddhist, but what is that I can do to bring this Sufi from within me, take it out in terms of practice? Is there something? Is that thinkable? Is that allowed? Is that something which we can do as practice? Some of this has been shared, but some definite approaches besides all those Quran verses and things like that. Any practice that we can think about in our own inner journey? Ikhlas?
Oh, okay. How to explain that? You know, I've told about my prayer, my meditation. My meditation is not to ask everything from God. Oh God, I'm sick, give me. You have to make me health. I don't want to say that. I just ask, oh my God, you know me and you can do what do you love for me. So when I see something, I see all of manifestation of God. It means it means God is near with me when I didn't ask anything from Him. Just say, God, do what's better you can do for me. That's it. I don't ask you to become a rich man. I don't ask you to become a scholar. I just ask you can do anything what you want to do for me. This is make me happy. This is make me what compassion to others, compassionate to others. This is what can I say. Thank you.
Dicky, you have something that you can share?
Yeah, I think just to add to what Ikhlas was earlier saying, I'd just like to say that, you know, one of the things, and I think this could be quite similar to the various forms of spirituality found in any other religions, and that is the idea that everything is connected to everything else. Yeah. So connections are really the key, yeah, to understanding Islamic spirituality or any forms of spirituality. And when I mean connection between not just us and God, but us also with other human beings, us with other species, us with the environment, with the ecology surrounding us, and so on and so forth. It's only through the realization of these connections can we really build upon a strong form of spirituality. Without that, I don't see any possibility of anyone reaching higher goals in their spiritual plane if they don't get this, if they don't understand that everything is connected to everything else. Yeah, and this has been one of the tragedies that secularism has brought us, or secularization has brought onto the world, and that is this separation, yeah, or what they called what is the term, disenchantment. Yeah, this whole idea about us being divorced from nature, us being divorced from our ecologies, even from ourselves, even from our very own existence. You know, we are seen as merely natural beings, social animals with interests, with agendas. And so I think even prior to engaging in rituals, we need to fully be aware of the philosophy behind this idea about human beings in the first place. I mentioned earlier, and I think a couple of times, about this idea about al-insan al-kamil. Yeah, this idea about the perfect being, and the perfect being being a multi-dimensional creature, multi-dimensional being, one who can comprehend the complex and complicated web of life and web of realities that we are constantly engaging on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, and so I think even prior to going into rituals, prior to going into practice, we need to have that understanding. For Sufis, I think one of the main practices would be what we call zikr. Zikr translate into remembrance or recollection. Yeah. So the idea is really how we can constantly remember, because one of the assumptions of Islam and Sufism is that humans are constantly in a state of forgetfulness, right? And so because of their forgetfulness, they're not grateful. And because they're not grateful, they become unhappy. And because they're unhappy and ungrateful, they become disconnected from the reality. Yeah. So that's the idea behind remembrance, the idea behind recollection or zikr. Yeah. So it's fighting against forgetfulness and being fully aware of one's existence and place in this multiverse, and how one should treat other beings and other species and the environment, the ecology, and everything that is enveloping our lives.
Yeah, thank you, Dicky. Thank you. Okay, I've been just moving these conversations as deeply as possible. I really would like you to take a few minutes if you want, but please ask. There must have been a number of questions that you must have. So we have about maximum another half an hour, 20 minutes or so. 20-25 minutes. If it can be something which you can engage with the practitioners, professors here, please, I really would like y'all to engage with. I'm sure you had some questions. For instance, there was a discussion about jihad and this whole idea of destroying self or getting the ego out. In whole of Buddhist discussion, there's a whole notion of non-self. So it's so connected. These are all connected. So at a mystical level, there's so much of connections between our, supposedly, separating paths and pathways. It is not true. Beyond a point, it's not true. So it's so look at yourself, even if you're a free thinker or ask. There must be some things that must be troubling you, including these ways portrayed. It will help. It will help move this conversation. Okay, please. Just give them some time. I think they are absorbing really difficult areas, and trying to see how to even raise a question. So raising a question is not that always that easy. So just giving them a few minutes. Then also, if you want to take 5 minutes to raise your questions, you can, and we will try to wind up by 11:50. Okay. So take 5 minutes, come back in 11:25. We start at 11:25. Reflect, ask some question, continue the conversation, please. last few minutes of our precious time with these two professors. Is everyone here? Yeah, okay. Amelina?
I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So, one of the things that struck me was about understanding what we are doing. Both both Dicky and Ikhlas talked about, is it Islam that I'm practicing? Am I being a Muslim? I like you to also reflect on this question. I call myself, in a secular sense, or in the world that we are working in the social sense, I'm a migrant activist. What does that really mean? I'm a feminist or a feminist theologian. What does that really mean? That I want to become a feminist theologian. I want to become an educationist. What does that really mean? Just like asking the question, am I really a Muslim? What does really, or maybe not even that? What am I practicing? What I'm practicing, is that Islam? What I'm practicing, is that the way to be a Muslim? Have I really made sense of what that is? It's the same thing as asking this other question. I am a migrant expert. I work with migrants, but what does that really mean when I'm saying I'm a migrant expert, or I'm working on human rights, human dignity, right? Things like that you say, but what does that really mean? Have you really examined yourself in that context in which we are now examining this deep sense of who we are? In this context, are we doing things in that way in which that has been, which we have received, taught to us, forced on us? I do not know. So I think keep that also in mind. These paths that you are taking, they will crisscross. And you need to ask yourself these questions. When you're asking the questions, am I a Buddhist? Am I a Catholic? Am I a Muslim? Am I a Sufi? Those questions will become related to each other. So, I leave that thing. So now if you can continue this conversation for another 10, 20, 15, 20 minutes, then we can call it. Because I think you still haven't asked. A lot of you haven't still asked the question that may be burning you up. Or you're confused now. Oh, I never know. I never thought Islam is this. It could be anyway. Yeah, please.
Can I start first?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, it is kind of like reflections and also a series of questions and a clarity. Like for me, in this last two and a half hour, at the beginning, yes, we are going to encounter with Sufism and Islam, and suddenly, like by singing in the conversations, and like even the title of Sufism or Islam is gone, and I feel so connected in the sense that like when talk about jihad, and I just come out from the retreat, and the main area in the Buddhist meditation that we are focusing on is purifying the minds, and these are the connection are so many, like even like compassion is how to really put compassion into the action in order to be closer to the gods and to feel see the qualities of the God, like Professor Ikhlas talk about the sick neighbor. So many things are so connected with the practice that I have been doing, and one thing that I find lost is that like now, like almost two years something, I have been going back to the retreat many times, and so try to like such really such in me, like on my religious practice, and as well as how am I going to understand and serve the community around. So whenever I come out from the retreat and I get lost in the sense that the environment in the retreat or in the community is so excluded and so, so different from the environment that when I'm come out and experience with. So like in that case, like before, I have been working a lot with the community in terms of peace building and such, and with a lots of energy. But whenever I went into the retreat and come out, and I start to experience the deeper level of the misery and suffering around, and I start to understand that the capacity of the compassions, or the capacity of the clarity, the strength that I have is still need to grow a lot. And so, like my question is that, when I listen to the talks from both professor, and I see that how they embody their practice and into the way they engage with the community. So I have a few questions. One is that how to maintain your like for my level is my spirituality or my practice is not established yet. So how to maintain this one in the world that are a big mess and a big misery around. So this is one thing. And the second thing is that in the conversation with Emelina and the professors about the Muslim community. So this one also very much connected with the Buddhist community in both countries. I come from Sri Lanka and from Myanmar. We have so much of misinformation, disinformations about the other religions, and mainly the divisions between Buddhists and Muslims are so strong. So, but at the same time, I witnessed that in the human level, we are going through the same. We are going through the same history, same struggle, and same patterns as well. So, like the Buddhist community, the more their Buddhist identity they perceive it is threatened, and they the more their identity is wounded, the more they go into rite and rituals, and so in totally a wrong path. Instead of like professor said, looking into yourself and looking into the real enemy before you look out the enemy outside. So in this case, how do you support, or how do you serve your community to realize the value of going back to spirituality, to realize the value of going focusing more on the inner journey? So this is the questions. So I have two questions. One question is that how to maintain yourself actively in order to progress in your own path, in your spirituality. This is one question. A second question is that how we can help our community that being so deeply wounded and so much sink into rite and ritual and getting lost with the pure teaching, the pure practice of the religion. So this is the two questions. Thank you very much.
Maybe somebody, Dicky, Ikhlas, if you have understood the question, could share your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question, and I think it's a valid one and an important one as well. I think as you talk, I was just sort of reflecting on my own sort of spiritual journey and spiritual practices. I think I would just like to say that it's fine if you get lost. Yeah. I mean, don't feel bad if you feel like you're sometimes at loss in life or at loss in your spiritual journey. It's perfectly reasonable. It's perfectly okay to experience that. I think one of the benefits of of being able to get lost is that there is much more incentive for you to find the right path for yourself. That is, and when we say the right path, it doesn't necessarily mean Islam, or it doesn't necessarily mean a religion even, right? But a pathway towards blissfulness, a pathway towards tranquility, a pathway towards peace with the inner self. I think to me, that is the straight path. Yeah. You need to understand that Islam literally means submission. Yeah. So it's not about being Islam, but it's more like becoming a Muslim, yeah? Becoming a person who can submit to the will of the divine. That to me is the definition of being a Muslim. Yeah. So it's not so much about being a Muslim. It's not about being a Catholic, being a Christian or Hindu or Buddhist. And because of that, because of your being, then you enter into heaven. That is the conventional theology I think everyone should be familiar by now. Yeah. But if you enter the realm of spirituality, salvation is for everyone. And the pathways are many, but then there are many pebbles, as they say. There are many hindrances and challenges that one must face, yeah, to be able to traverse this pathway securely. The other thing I'd like to say is that your question about how to maintain and sustain the spiritual form that we have garnered over the years through practices and through learning and so on. I think in Buddhism, you have intentional pauses, yeah, or meditative processes in which you sort of intentionally pause from life. I mean, to me, that is how I interpret the Salah. That is how I interpret the 5 obligatory prayers in Islam. It's an intentional pause of life, and for Muslims to reconnect with the multiverse and to be aware once more that we are here in this realm for a reason, yeah, and that we are just a dot in this whole sort of complex reality that we are in. So prayers are very important for Muslims and for Sufis. And I also mentioned about zikr, remembrance, recollection. That's also an important thing. So usually zikr is done right after the prayers. Yeah, so we do the prayers, we do the zikr, and then we do the supplications. Yeah, so there's salah, there's zikr, and there's dua. Dua can also mean invitation. So studying about the idea of dua or supplication in Islam, it's really sort of quite similar to the idea of the law of attraction. Yeah. So it does have a rational kind of explanation about the function of du'as or supplications, because by engaging in supplication, you are inviting all the good things to your life, yeah, all the blessings, yeah, and the compassions and the love toward you, yeah. And so those three practices I find are very useful and significant for me as a Muslim and for both of my spiritual practice. Thank you.
Okay, and me. Okay, I want to tell you my story. One time, I wanted to pray prayer, and suddenly my cat came and slept on my prayer robe and on my sajada. I think based on Islamic law, right, based on Islamic law or Islamic jurisprudence, I have to get rid of the cat because it bothers me. But something comes to my head, to my heart. Why I want to throw it away? Doesn't it comes to accompany me, to get spirituality with me? And I pray with my cat. I didn't throw it away from me. I mean, everything what I want to mention to myself, everything what I read, what I have read, what I have studied, what perspective I studied, comes to my head every single time to compare others. And so sometimes with this perspective, I think I am the best one. This is mean I lost. When I thought that I'm the best one from others, and when I aware of I was wrong, it's been I don't when I lost, it doesn't mean when I didn't practice my religion. No, it means when I've been an arrogant person, when I've been to say I'm better than others, it is mean I lost it. My perspective from after studying Sufism perspective. It means my spiritual journey is a process. Every single time, it's a process. It's not I've reached the highest state. No, I didn't reach it. This is only a process every single time. Sometimes I lost, sometimes I got aware. Getting aware for every single time is better than not being aware from being an arrogant man, from an arrogant person. This is I can share with you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. To keep the time, would the professors want to share one last thing before we close? It's 11:45. And usually we take about 5 minutes in between before we close. If there is something that you want to share and close, or if there's someone here who wants to have is burning to ask a question. If you are not burning to ask a question, At least not now, maybe later on. We probably can get them if they agree to come again to share. Maybe Professor Dicky, Professor Ikhlas, you want to share some last thoughts, some last words? We can close it.
Okay, the last, I want to thank you to share what you have listened from me and you have understood from me, and this is the best thing I get from this discussion. I respect all your perspective. I respect all what you think, and I thank that perspective. So your perspective can correct me to find the meaning of life from this discussion. Thank you so much from your discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Ikhlas. Dicky, you there? Hi, Dicky. Yeah.
Yeah, well, like Ikhlas, I'd just like to also thank all of the participants and also Dr. Nad for facilitating this learning journey. And I must say that this is not something which I do quite often. You know, sharing my life experiences and my spiritual insights. It's not the kind of lectures that I usually give to my students, but I know that one day this time will come where I need to share bit by bit. But I don't see myself as a Sufi per se. Sometimes I think of myself as a Sufi undercover, if you like. Yeah, because even to consider oneself as a Sufi is a form of arrogance. Yeah, because for us, being a Sufi means that you have already, reached that stage where you have killed your ego, and that only the love of the divine is within you. And so I think that's a problem into itself, you see. And so that's why many Sufis don't usually regard themselves as Sufis. So because of that, usually Sufism are taught in a very peculiar manner. Yeah, usually they're taught directly in terms of how things are done, how rituals and how the practices are done. And oftentimes these rituals and practices are not accompanied by any form of explanation about why they are being done or why they should be done by the students of Sufism. Yeah, because oftentimes understanding and comprehension on a practice or ritual only comes later on. Yeah, once one has practiced it over the years and then come to terms with the meanings and the ramification of the practice and rituals themselves. Yeah? So that would be my last few words. So again, thank you very much for your attention, and I really did enjoy this sharing session. Thank you very much, Nat.
Thank you. Thank you. So I think we will just spend some time together, a few minutes. So you both of you can now go rest and say, phew, it's done. Okay, until we meet again, I hope you will be available sometime when they want to meet.
Inshallah. Inshallah.
Thank you.
Everything is determined by God ultimately.
Yeah.
All right. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ikhlas.
You're welcome.
Ikhlas, could
Yes.
you? We will be having our own meeting for a while, so you could
Okay.
you can leave if you want.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Go rest.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for all of you being here, and thank you for going through this session. And don't forget, we have another session tomorrow, which is on the Ignatian meditation or contemplation methods and approaches, which will be shared tomorrow by Dr. Jojo, 9 to 11. So please be there. So you get the idea of this different approaches to inner life. And this called GMF community has got a lot of things that the institution is hoping to establish as a community of people, young people, to do a number of things in the field of not only just keep in mind also the GMF community is going to be a community in multiple domains, in a multi-varsity domains, which will be conscience and compassion, on media, on sustainability, on public health. There will be a community built on those different areas. And therefore, you are the first batch to build on a very key foundational aspect called conscience and compassion. But there will be one who will be doing on media. We are going to probably start one next year on media. And then we'll be starting on public health. We're starting on, so over the next 5 years, we're going to build a community, and hopefully you will be the core community, building on this methodology and building on the domains. So many of those areas will come into the GMF community. So GMF community is going to hopefully grow over the next 5 years, and we are hoping that this will be an alternative community creation, forming young people, and then asking them to build, expertise in different domains, which needs attention the way in which we are going about it. So just keep that in mind, and we'll meet tomorrow then at 9 o'clock. Is it okay? Okay. Thank you so much. Take care.